Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to have on the Goldstein on Gelt show Scott Fox, who's the founder of the popular lifestyle entrepreneur coaching community called clickmillionaires.com. And he wrote a book called Click Millionaires: Work Less, Live More with an Internet Lifestyle Business You Love. Now, a lot of people are very cynical about the internet, and they kind of feel that it's ubiquitous and that it's changing the way people think and do things. And they say it kind of with the pejorative tone. But Scott, I think you found a way to really make it a fantastic vehicle for people to change their lives. What is being a lifestyle entrepreneur all about?
Hey, Doug. Well, thanks for asking. I think the lifestyle business represents the real opportunity for everybody listening today that's just different than the way we were raised. Lifestyle businesses are not what's taught in business schools. They're not what you see covered in the business pages. They're not what you see going public. These are businesses that entrepreneurs build to support their own goals and independent creativity, meaning they prioritize their lifestyle even before the money. Now, it's still a business, so you have to make enough money to support your lifestyle. But the idea is that business can serve your own goals and who you want to be when you grow up, as they say, rather than constantly grappling for more capital, more growth, more employees, and an exit strategy. This is an idea that you can live your life and a business can be built to support that.
So let's clarify a little bit more, because a lot of people who are old-fashioned entrepreneurs, or they're practitioners, they may be doctors or lawyers, didn't they kind of live their own life and have their own goals?
Well, perhaps they did. That's a good in-between case, like an attorney or a CPA or an accountant or a doctor. That's someone who's gone to school for a long time and probably is more in control of their own career destiny than the average person, right? So that's a good in-between. I'm really talking about the extremes on either side, though. Most people work for a big company, or at least a small company. They work for the man. They show up at a certain hour, dress a certain way, do a certain thing every day. They go home, they get a paycheck. And they're kind of on that hamster wheel, right? Tread, 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 tread. And they hope to make enough money to eventually retire and stop working. The doctors and lawyers who have the credentials, they can kind of be in between as their own corporations often. But the other side is where I am, where I'd like to encourage the 9 to 5 people, or these days it's more often like 8 to 8, the 8 to 8 people to come over to where I am, which is, hey, you can build a business where you can get up when you want, you can wear what you want, you can have lunch where you want, you can hang out with people you want, and you don't have to work with people you don't want to work with, and you don't have to do stuff you don't have to do. Now, I'm not saying this is easy or quick, but that's why, as you mentioned, I've written 3 books about this stuff to help people through it.
All right, so let's focus on the type of person who does it, because I consider myself a kind of entrepreneurial guy. I started my first business when I was 15. I had an entertainment agency, and fast forward many years, and I run a number of companies. My biggest company is a financial planning firm. And I'm constantly thinking of new ideas. I feel like I have sort of an entrepreneurial spirit. I see something and I imagine how it could be improved. And I'm like sort of geeky in this way. I'll sometimes sit down and write down a business plan. Not that I'm going to do it, but just I kind of want to get everything in one place. And yet I find when I talk about some of these ideas with other people, I see their eyes rolling back in their head. It just doesn't sit with them. Are there people who are entrepreneurial and people who just aren't?
I think you're exactly right. And I have the same instincts that you do. I have bunches of business plans and ideas all the time. And I actually currently run I've enough that I've lost count, somewhere between a dozen and 20 different websites that are all plinking in different little amounts of money. And none of these are huge Facebook, IPO sort of businesses. These are little lifestyle businesses that reflect individual niche interests of my own. And this is what I talk about in the Click Millionaires book. And in we have a free forum at clickmillionaires.com that you mentioned, where we coach people how to figure this out. So yeah, Doug, I think some people are entrepreneurial minded, and other people, they're happy to work for somebody else and do that stuff. I have nothing against those folks. I'm just saying from personal experience, and you'll get my story if you read the books and so forth. I found that wasn't for me, and I tried really hard. I had a bunch of different jobs over 15 or 20 years in different industries, and I went back to grad school, and I tried a bunch of different ways, and I just was unhappy every time, even though I did really well and made a lot of money. There are some people just wired a little differently, and I mean literally me and you, and hopefully others listening, we have this drive to build little things, and the internet, you can do that. You can put up a website and try something very inexpensively compared to what it used to cost to build a business. A real business costs lots of money and lots of time. It would still take some time to build a business online, but the infrastructure is really cheap compared to the old days of, getting a storefront or an office and parking spaces and fax machines and desks and insurance and, all that stuff, right? You don't need all the stuff anymore. So
You might
that's
still need insurance. That depending what you're selling. Let's not
fair,
pass by that
fair,
one.
fair enough.
We're talking with Scott Fox, who is an expert in lifestyle design, and he's written a number of books on it. I guess the most recent one is called Click Millionaires. Scott, I want to dig into this even further because I think we're still talking a little bit too high up. I want to drill down maybe to an example of either something you've done or maybe even better is, a success story of someone who you've coached to leave the 8-to-8 job, develop an idea that, he really liked and turned it into something. Can you tell us something like that?
Sure, I'm happy to. And there's a lot more of these in the books and in my podcasts and my YouTube videos. I'm all across the web. If anybody's interested in following up, there are examples. But a couple quick ones in this context. I really like the example that's in the book about Rob, who was a personal trainer, which is a good job. He enjoyed that, very physical young guy. But you know what he really liked to do? He liked to fly model airplanes. Fast forward, he figures out that he can put videos on YouTube of model airplanes. He's got the biggest remote-controlled airplane channel on YouTube. He's making real money. He doesn't do physical personal training anymore. He does what he wants. He flies model airplanes, puts videos on YouTube, right? Or another one, Al. Al was a journalist. He went a traditional print publication, and it turned out that they were downsizing, as all print publications are, that's happening everywhere, right? And he figured out the internet. Hey, this is, a cheaper way to publish. So he took the same industry that he covered as a print journalist, turned it into an online newsletter. This is an example in the book too. And that's a real nice business for him now. It's more of a business to business, where the first example is business to consumer. Business to business offers lots of opportunities as well. So, and I've got a bunch of these. I write my books, believe it or not, for my mother. My mother's in her 70s, and she's my star pupil. If you read my books, there are a bunch of businesses. We won't go into it now, but a bunch of businesses built around her interests. And if she can do it, anybody can do it.
No kidding. That's me. I'm going to tell you something funny because if we're talking about our mothers, my mother. Yeah, I told you I'm in the financial planning world. I started a little over 20 years, and at that time I was partners with my mother, who was a vice president for a major brokerage firm, and she'd been there for 17 years. And I've written a number of books as well, and about investing. And my number one editor is my mother, because before she had been a financial person, she had been an editor with Scholastic. So she brought all the skills together. But it's funny how, I guess, young middle-aged guys like us are always thinking about our moms.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, well, it's another great point because you were asking about lifestyle businesses. One of the biggest benefits about lifestyle businesses, again, never talked about in business school, right? You can work with your family if you want to, right?
Sure.
My mom has a internet business. My wife has an internet business. I get my brother involved. This is things that we can do together, and that's a wonderful thing that the corporate approach of the 20th century really kind of lost, right? Everybody's just a cog in a cubicle, and you do something for somebody in an office miles away, right? But you working with your family is a really wonderful thing.
And I think one of the other aspects, and I'll give an example of it as well, is that you don't have to, however, be sitting in your basement, surrounded by a few computers. My daughter discovered many years ago that she had a knack for teaching Hebrew, and she just set up a website and teaches Hebrew, and it's one-on-one. She does coaching with people around the world, actually. And so she has these relationships with people. She's really working with real live people. It's true, it's over Skype video, but I think it's important to realize that you're not just closing yourself in a little internet box where you never interact with people. It's a great point. It's really human.
Yeah, it can be, and that's a great example. Maybe we'll put it in my next book. That's a great example.
But one of the problems that I do see people having, not only in internet businesses, because a lot of my clients try this, but in regular businesses, is at the end of the day, if you don't have a client to pay you money, you're not going to stay successful. It seems to me that's the number one thing to figure out before you invest a huge amount of your time or energy is, will someone actually pay you for whatever you're trying to sell? How do you help people deal with that?
I couldn't agree more. That's a huge insight, and I totally agree. The way I phrase that same thing, and there's a video or two of me on YouTube talking about this, is people make the mistake of focusing on supply instead of demand. So they come in and they hear all this stuff on radio shows and books and so forth, do what you love and the money will follow. Well, that's important, but you really got to figure out where the money's going to come from, right? So the demand, right? You can supply all the product you want. That's not the problem we have anymore. The internet and the world is full of products, right? There's cheap stuff from China everywhere. That's not the problem. The problem is finding customer demand first. And there's 7 principles in the Click Millionaires book that describe how I and a lot of my friends and associates and clients have built lifestyle businesses. 7 principles of how to design a business, not just to make money, but to accommodate your lifestyle. And the first of those is find a need and serve it. And that's the same point you're making, I think. What problem can I solve that people are going to pay me for? And then how do I overlap?
That's the critical part, that they're going to pay you for, right?
That's right. And then how does that overlap with something I actually want to do? Because there's lots of stuff people pay me for I don't want to do. But if there's an overlap, that's where your future is as a lifestyle business, or as I call it, a Click Millionaire entrepreneur.
So let me give you the cynical question, because there are a lot of guys out there who talk about making money online, and all they do is they make money online by talking about making money online. Mm-hmm. It seems to me that you're beyond that, but I just want to understand, you're not just out there selling this one idea, right? In other words, you've succeeded in doing this in other areas of the internet.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the profits from my books are given to charity. The clickmillionaires.com forum that I mentioned, it's the only forum I know of on the internet. We give half of the ad revenue back to the most active members, so it's a way to get paid as you teach yourself. The other half I need to pay the moderators and pay for the hosting and stuff. I give away as much as I can. I have, like I said, a dozen or plus other websites that make my money, and I do try to cover my costs. I honestly believe, and the reason I started I'm not a writer, I'm a business guy, but I believe that Silicon Valley has a lot to teach the rest of the world, and they're not sharing the information. Right? It's probably the same reason you do this show, right? You're telling me you interview these Nobel laureates and stuff. This is important stuff that regular folks deserve a chance to hear. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm from Silicon Valley. I've done that. I've moved on and I've graduated from that. I'm trying to help other people. This is a big thing, and you could participate even without a computer science degree, without $1 million of venture capital. It's not easy. It's not quick, but there's an opportunity here that you probably are underestimating.
Right. I think that's very true. And I think if people take that as a takeaway from today's discussion and maybe even go ahead and read the Click Millionaire, they're going to find out how to do it. Scott, we're just about out of time, but in the last few seconds, just tell me, how can people follow you and follow your work?
Well, thanks for having me on, Doug. We're at clickmillionaires.com. That's my primary website. And as I said, it's a free coaching forum for people that are new to this. You can come and ask the questions you're afraid to ask in other snarky forums on the internet, right? You know, we're here to help people, and if we can, we will. And that's what it boils down to.
Right. Scott, we'll put a link to that at the show notes of today's show at goldsteinongelt.com. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world. If you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.